time for another round of Brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand with your hosts, Reilly Newman and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
All right, welcome back to another round of Brandy. Today, like we mentioned back in episode 2 or 3, we talked about grassroots marketing. And today, Scott and I were going to kind of define it and go over what our perspective is on it.
Yeah, I mean, grassroots marketing is a term that's been around for quite some time. And everyone kind of loosely throws it around there. And obviously people that are in the marketing specific industry, right, and build marketing campaigns and stuff, they talk about it a lot. And even if you just Google grassroots marketing, well, the definition alone, they talk about going after a specific niche, a group of people, right, and engaging with them as a brand. And that's how it's kind of bucketed, right? But based on that definition alone, it seems like that is what you want to, defining a group of people and an audience and having your brand go after or engage with that. That's the very definition of all along for us of what makes a great brand. Yeah. Like that isn't limited. That shouldn't be defined just by grassroots marketing. So to us, grassroots marketing, I think, is a different, has a different definition.
I feel like you and I are both super surprised because in preparation of this, we're like, let's talk about grassroots, marketing. It's a common term. A lot of business owners are familiar with that, marketing departments. But then when you looked it up, literally the definition was saying how, you're focusing. It was very tactical and almost what you and I were both like, it sounds like a checkbox. Like, okay, we're doing social media marketing and we're doing grassroots marketing. And it came across we're picking this little audience, we're focusing on them. And you and I were like, no, that should be the byproduct of brand. Of being that focused and that personal with your desired
Because the
audience.
opposite of that is trying to appeal to everyone. Yeah. Like they're saying, we'll go. So if you're going after everyone, but then grassroots market is going after a small niche, a small specific group. Our approach to brand and brand development and what defines a successful and great brand is based that you're not trying to be everything to everyone. You're not trying to appeal to everyone. Yeah. And all along, everything we write about in our book, Brandy, everything that we I've talked about in the podcast episodes so far is supporting the notion that to build a great brand, you want to identify that waypoint on the horizon. You want to identify that North Star. You want to identify the type, that specific niche or that specific audience or group, and connecting with them on an emotional and a relational way that is that is engaging, has longevity. Yeah. And in doing so, you're going to be engaging in grassroots marketing because ultimately, if you have a huge fan base of your brand, guess what? They're going to talk about you. Yeah. They're going to pass the word around. They're going to be your grassroots marketing, the boots on the ground, doing the grassroots marketing for you. I've always looked at it loosely as prior to looking up and seeing how the industry defines it, right? Yeah. What's today's notion of it? Because definitions come and go, right? Yeah. But I've always approached grassroots marketing as basically it's marketing. It's allowing your customer to do the marketing for you. Yeah, no, really. And in order to do that, like we talked about on a previous episode about the phases, right, of the levels, the phases of brand engagement, that you go to that fourth phase, going from the love it to the ownership, where the brand is so ingrained in that person that it's just it's an expression of themselves in a sense. Yeah, they are going to be your biggest advocates. Yeah,
and they become like an ambassador for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, and going back to like we've talked about on previous episodes, is like the whole relationships side of it is just as much as, a great friend may go, oh yeah, Scott's a great guy, or he's so funny, he does this, and they can say stuff kind of talking about your character and who you are on a more in-depth level. It's like, that's what you want with your customers, that they can, you invest in that relationship, and then they're able to that much more be the advocate for you of highlighting those features, those attributes of who you are. Man, this business, they have awesome customer service. They did this for me, right? All that experiential stuff. And that's what, like you said, it's like they become your marketing department.
Yeah. I mean, I have my wife and my oldest son are in the wine industry, the local wine industry. And we see this all the time with, a big retention, or how do they grow their wine club member base, is so many times, part of a benefit of a wine club member is you come in with free tastings, right? Or you have all these benefits, right? So many times wine club members are coming into the tasting rooms of these wineries, and guess what? They're bringing their friends because they want to expose their friends to the wine, the winery, the wine brand that they love so much that they've become wine club members of, and get regular shipments of, and are stocking their wine in all their homes. All their homes, I shouldn't say homes, but plural, but in their home, although maybe some of them have homes. But the notion is that that's a great example of where a winery, if they have a happy wine club member, if they throw these amazing wine club parties, and there's a lot of perks for when wine club members come in and they get tastings for themselves and others, it naturally happens because they're growing their wine club based on the fact that it's essentially word of mouth. Those wine club members are out there and going, hey, we're going to be coming into Paso Robles, and we're going to go wine tasting, and come up with us, join us, and we're members here, we're members there. And then they go, and the next thing you know, those friends are signing up for the wine club. Yeah. Because they're already sold on it. And to me, that's like, if a wine brand was going to, let's focus on grassroots marketing, I would say build an incredible wine club program,
the experience
that causes the current members to want to invite the non-members to come with them, right? And that because to me, that's grassroots marketing. I mean, even where did the term come from? I mean, grassroots. You look at it's a term for having to deal with how grass interacts with things, and it's at the root level. It's spreads out. It's like how you regrow turf.
Yeah, and that's what, like, grass, when you do look at it, it's a network. So that's why when it does grow, that's how weeds work too, because grass, I think, is technically a weed, but we like it. And the way it chokes out other plants and stuff is that it's growing across the surface and in the dirt, and it's actually interwoven with the other roots of nearby grass. And so just like a network and network effects, like you have in the economy, it's like that's how it works. A single grass by itself is it could last, it could not. But once that grass starts interweaving with other grass plants and seedlings, then it starts gaining its integrity, gaining its like foothold in the ground. And so that's where it's like the network effect takes place. And just like you said with the wine membership, it's like that's what essentially is happening. You have one member come in, man, this awesome experience, I love the brand, it speaks so much about me, I'm gonna put my friend in, right? I want them to experience, I want them to enjoy the wine. And then that's one other little node of grass, and then they start intertwining. And even that relationship, that friend is the possibility of them canceling their membership is now less likely because their friend's part of it, right? So it starts reinforcing itself, and it's a powerful way to build. But I think, like we saw, is like the industry definition of it was so.
It's about viral. Yeah,
it was like toxic.
It's like, grassroots marketing. Okay, well let's create a viral TikTok video and get that out there, and not to knock those endeavors. Those are great, but at the same time, it's based on. And it was even talking. I think we were coming across some articles and just what's kind of out there, which I think is very confusing for a lot of small business owners when they come across these things. Where it's talking about how, be on top of the trends and things like that. And it's like. No. If you want a successful brand to rise above that of your competitor or to rise to the top in your market space, you don't want to be doing what everyone else is doing. It just becomes a lot of marketing white noise. And so, yes, you want to do social media. Yes, if you can get a social influencer to post about and boast about your product or service, that's great. But to me, that's not really grassroots marketing as opposed to by our definition, by my definition, by both of ours definition of allowing your audience to do the legwork of some of your marketing. It's not all of your marketing, but it's a component, because if you build that naturally, it's going to happen. It naturally will happen. And then the other term, another term that's being thrown around too, which can be confusing for some, and is guerrilla marketing. You have grassroots marketing, and then you have guerrilla marketing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the term came about from the way it was more of a military term, right? I mean, you look at like warfare. The Vietnam War and guerrilla tactics. And we hear about that all the time, and a lot of the conflicts, unfortunately, the violent conflicts in a lot of areas of the world where you have guerrillas, local militias and stuff, fighting back, but they're using very unconventional tactics.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of times where because it used to be with military would form in a line, they would not do battle at night. It was almost very respectful. Like they will meet on the battlefield, and they each have their own encampments on separate hillsides away, and they would advance, and their infantry would line up, and they'd even send their leaders forward to see if they could negotiate.
Turns.
No, we're going to come back, and then they'd start with inventory, and then archery, and then you got all these waves of warfare, and it was very organized. And then we didn't see that so much in the last World War, but I think it was like some of the skirmishes with the
It's like, you shoot, now we'll shoot.
Yeah,
now you
shoot.
shoot.
And I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe the whole term of guerrilla and all that was really Vietnam War, right? Maybe even the Korean War, where it was like all of a sudden it was a different ball game, the way that they were fighting back. And so I think it's that idea of like, it's unconventional. So I think when you talk about guerrilla marketing, it's about doing some crazy PR stunt. It's about doing something that is so unconventional that people are talking about it, which is great. That helps. Things like that help your brand get noticed.
It's typically, just like in warfare, it's the underdogs who pull off these guerrilla tactics, because it's scrappy, it's usually much more cost effective, and usually it's so off the wall that a giant corporation, it's too close to the edge for a giant corporation to do that, right? And so you do get some big corporations that try to do it. Like you got Red Bull doing the guy with the jump from outer space. You got Richard Branson doing his stuff with Virgin. But a lot of those things they're ingrained in the personality of those brands, is that they are very off the wall and outlandish and daring and wild, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they're tactics, but those brands have embedded that tactic in the long-term like DNA of the brand. Just like a startup can do a really funny off the wall commercial or do something that's completely just not scalable from like a marketing standpoint, but it's part of their DNA as a startup. They're the underdog. They can do that. Just like Mint Mobile's done with cellular, or some of those other brands that are small and they're taking on these really huge industries. But it is like you said, it's like, okay, if someone tries to pull off something like that, it's like, that's a great stunt, but it's like, it's not going to last because there's no long-term vision for it.
Now, if that stunt and the purpose was to further strengthen the bonds of your current consumer base, your current audience, that's great. There's power in that. There's longevity in that, because you're investing in those that already are fans, and you might increase their emotional connection to you. They might go from like your brand to love your brand. Because they go, oh, that's so cool. So there's purpose to it.
Totally.
We're not. Our position isn't, hey, don't do guerrilla marketing. Don't do typical grassroots marketing. It's a matter of how you do it and why you're doing it.
Again, Red Bull is such a good example of that. Is that they did this. The guy jumped from space. That was like such a big event for them. Even though they do tons of extreme sports that aligns with their very GoPro Red Bull extreme sports audience. It's like, but like you said, they're doing these things deliberately. It's a guerrilla tactic. No other brand has done that. No other brand has had someone jump from space and skydive into the earth. Like, that's incredible. But it was deliberate because it aligned with the brand and those people who already loved Red Bull, right?
Yeah.
And just like with Grassroots, it's like, that to me is almost part of Grassroots, where they're doing something so unique and different that it's also focused on who their audience is, as big as it is for Red Bull. It's like they're actually still focusing on that individual who goes to the store and buys a Red Bull. I don't, but I still enjoyed it. But it's still like that certain person who is extreme sports, they use a GoPro camera, they have this lifestyle. It's like they enjoyed that a lot. I think what we saw on the internet is like so much of this focus on grassroots marketing and going viral on social, doing TikTok dances and all these. And so like, that's not the point. Like that shouldn't be the checkbox that's part of your quote unquote marketing, that then, okay, this will work. This will be the silver bullet.
Yeah. And that's the thing. There is no, I've talked with a lot of small businesses when they're talking about how to, fine tune their brand and stuff. And they're always looking for, what's the secret recipe? What's the silver bullet? That term has literally come up. Been used. What's this? And they were looking for. I was hoping there's, and it's not. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Yeah. It really isn't. Yeah. And that you can broadcast a to-do list and check it off, and therefore you will have a great, successful brand.
That clarity is what's going to drive this byproduct of what they call grassroots marketing. Like that in of itself that's the brand marketing itself. That's what the customer's saying when you're not there, and being able to interact with this perception and this idea of your brand. And I feel like that's where there's a lot of confusion, is that they think it's this effort, when it's like, no, that should be the byproduct of being so crystal clear on who you're reaching, who you're selling to, the value you're delivering, and what you're trying to capture on top of that. It's like, it's a long-term vision, and it's not for short-term, we got 1,000 views on our TikTok dance. Like, that's not going to build your business. I know there's anomalies where, oh wow, this kid built a product business based off of social media, but I'm like, frankly, it's an anomaly. They got lucky.
Right. And will that technique still be relevant 3-4 years from now?
Yeah. And then you're just constantly chasing your tail. It's like people who spend too much on the ad placements on Google, and then they become dependent on it. And then now they're just throwing money constantly into this machine, because they're playing the rule of numbers, where they have to get so many impressions, to get so many clicks, to get so many conversions. And then they're constantly now just feeding this machine. It's not based off their brand or anything.
Yeah. I mean, I, for one, I'm a consumer, and I'm on Instagram, so I always get ads, and occasionally a product or a sponsored ad will come up, and I go, oh, that's interesting, and I'll happen to do the learn more or shop now, just because I'm like, ooh, that jacket is really dope, and going, heck no, I'm not paying over $900 for a jacket, so I'm like, forget it. But then guess what? Now I'm constantly engaged with that ad, right? And now, to be honest with you, I'm put off of the brand, because it's like, get out of my face. So that's in the case where if they keep thinking, oh, we get clicks, oh, we're getting all this, they're reading their analytics and they're going, oh my gosh, we have so many click-throughs. Well, that's great, but how much of that is leading to an actual sale?
But I think that's the fallacy of this scalability in the economy, where, oh, if we get 1 million views, it's like, okay, well, what's the actual conversion of that? Just like I always talk about that ad, I think it was on Forbes, where I go to Forbes.com, read an article, and this giant pop-up ad just literally takes up the entire screen. And I'm like, what an impression. Like, yes, it made an impression. It took up my whole monitor, but it wasn't a good impression. Like, it was like that poor impression. I'm just trying to read the darn article, and now it's completely, and I can't find the X on it. Like, it's just like, I can't exit out of it. And I'm like, that's an awful brand impression. And it's the same thing like you're saying, where it's like, now this brand is like bothersome to you, but they're still seeing the numbers on their end from their little marketing firm who's doing their ad placements, and they're going, oh wow, look, we got 1,000 clicks. Scott clicked on it 5 times.
Services for marketing.
He's not interested
at
all.
Generic, scripted, standard run-of-the-mill industry tactics that will get you someplace. But I guess for us, we're so into branding that it's like, again, it's not about building good brands, which is, I think, any of those tactics are going to get you good brands, viable brand exposure. But the focus, and I think of Brandy and everything we do, it's about building a great brand, a successful brand, a brand that is going to be on top and stay on top. And a classic example, I know we always go back to Apple and Disney and some of these other, corporations, but like a classic example, I've been an Apple user since 1992. Wow. When the 2CX came out, and it was a college graduation present, and Illustrator 1.0. That's how long I've been a Mac user. And then when the first phone came out, it's like the iPhone dropped, I grabbed one, and in every instance I'm a huge Apple fan. So when I have a friend or a family member that is like, oh I need to get a new laptop, I need to get this, right? And they're like, I don't know, should I stay with Adele or should I go, I don't know, take the plunge and go Apple? I'm the first one that's advocating for the Apple. Yes, I know there's a higher price point, but I'm keeping the people in mind, right? That if they're not super tech savvy, if they're more on the user end of things than the back end type of thing, right? If they're a tinker, PC, because you're going to build it out. You're going to do whatever you're going to want. You're going to, No. But for the general user to get the task done, it's about the tool. And so I would, I'd always recommend taking that plunge, but dropping down because to me, the Apple brand and how it's presented, everything from the packaging to the usability to everything seems intuitive. That's part of the brand for me. And so I'm always out there And I get no kickback from Apple, although I should reach out to them and go, hey, guys, you know what?
Over 32 years
cut me
of
a little,
endorsement.
cut me a little royalty check here and there. But I don't. But the reality is it doesn't matter to me because I love Apple.
And you look at that, it's like Apple, all those things that you said, it's like from a business standpoint, those are expensive things. For them to take the time and design a great looking machine, design an intuitive interface, spend the time researching that stuff, doing studies.
Detail and packaging.
Yeah, packaging detail, like the amount of investment, it's like, but all those are expenses, from the business standpoint. But like Scott, that's 32 years of a lifetime value as a customer.
God, you make me feel old.
but how much is that over?
Yeah.
And then from you, how many people have been persuaded to buy, or you even probably sent them a link at one point and be like, hey, this is what you should get, or consulted them pretty much on like, hey, you should get this machine or this, or you got to get an iPhone. Like it's superior. And it's insane when you think about that. And that really is like that grassroots marketing of Scott in this instance, like was the advocate and the salesperson for a brand for free.
And whether, it could be hairspray, it could be mascara, it could be, whatever it is. If you have a happy customer, they're going to naturally pitch it.
Yeah.
And whether it's an incredible customer service and return policy or an exchange policy on a product that you buy, right? Recently made a purchase and they were so responsive. Immediate, like I sent them an email like, hey, we just got this order, it's great. I know you guys don't normally do returns, but here's the situation. Within 5 minutes, I got a reply and said, hey, we're going to immediately send you out the right size, and here's a return label. And it turned out that it's free return. Like a lot of times they go, we'll take returns, but you got to pay for the
return. Yeah.
And I was like, now I'm a bigger fan of the brand.
Yep.
Where even though it's a specific item they're shopping, they might not be. But if the brand name ever comes up, I'll be the first going, dude, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Because the way they treated me, because the brand thought to focus on customer service being a very top priority, and that I think is part of, or should be part of, their quote unquote grassroots marketing program. Is that it build that current base. So if anything, it's a matter of, I think this all boils down to taking what the common industry term of grassroots marketing is, removing the label, and taking that definition, and that is your brand plan.
Yeah.
It's finding a very specific niche, a very specific audience, and focusing on that with razor sharpness.
And expecting the long term.
Yeah.
Even customer service, that is a long-term play. Treating someone like a human, being understanding and going, okay, I'll grant them this return. It cost me the business $5 to do the return or whatever it is. But I would rather have them come back and buy something or tell a friend. And that's where it's like, it takes a sacrifice and it's an immediate expense, but the long-term play of it, just like with Apple, Amazon, any of these great like empires, it's like they've invested in that and built something that wasn't based off of a TikTok video going viral or them jumping out of a blimp. It's like, no, it's based off of the one-on-one human interactions, not the transactions.
Exactly. It's like, for instance, it's like rather than digging deep into as a business owner, digging deep in your pocket and shelling out a print ad campaign in the local newspaper. Yeah. I think it would be smarter if you spent the money or the money was, it may cost you more to do business, but that's the investment, would be if you remove the debit card fee. Yeah. If the purchase is under $10, or don't charge me my own to return. Oh, we'll accept returns, but we're going to charge you a restocking fee.
It's like, what?
Like, that's the type of stuff to me that a lot of people do, but they don't see the impact, the erosion that the brand will have with its consumer.
Yeah. And you want to go from customers to members, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's where Grassroots goes. Like you convert these people from one-time customers. That's in transactional.
Your advocates.
Yeah. And then you invest in them, invest in the relationship, and you're building that, and then become advocates and members of this greater community that's supporting the business.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that, that aligns with our philosophy with overall brand and the brand's approach to the market, and Grassroots should be that byproduct of of brand.
Yeah. And there is a place for guerrilla marketing. There's all those places for that.
That's
but
just
again,
fun.
it's like, why are you doing it? Is the time and money well spent? And what's your return on that investment? And it's great to be noticed because there's a lot of brands. There's a lot of brands on the marketplace. You know, I was talking to someone recently about, and they're looking at starting a hot sauce brand.
Yeah.
Like, great. But they're like, I'm like, just even the local market alone. I mean, there's so many hot sauces. Just in our area.
Yeah.
Local, individual, mom and pop little brands out there of hot sauce. And it's a very, very crowded market space. But that doesn't mean that if you have the desire and you want to enter that space, that to not do it because it's so crowded. It's a matter of finding ways to do it in a way that no one else is doing it or very few are doing it. And then how do you do even that a little bit differently than those other few that are maybe doing it differently than the mass? But the last thing you want to do is look at, oh, well, everyone's doing this, and so I just need to do that. I've seen so many business owners struggle, and constantly they're pivoting. It's like a dance. You know, they're constantly tripping over their own feet, and they're constantly changing directions, changing the music. They're just trying to outlive the dance floor, and it's like, just take a deep breath, regroup, and don't be so reactionary.
Yeah.
Right? It's about your business. What you want your business plan to be proactive, not reactive.
Yep. And that's exactly how most money's lost on the stock market, is that people, they're buying and they're selling, and they're buying again, selling. They keep changing positions and doing that and buying whatever is the next hot stock. And they're just like, they keep going rather than going, look what Warren Buffett's done. And what they've proven with Berkshire is like, you hold, buy something that's true, buy something that you can count on, and you just hold that sucker.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, you look at successful businesses, is that they've done that too, where it's just you stay, like you said, be distinct, be unique. Don't try to be like everyone else. And I hate how counterintuitive that is for businesses. Like, no, to stand out, you have to be different. You have to be distinct.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll talk about that next. But I think that's great for Grassroots today.
Yeah. Thanks for checking in.
And until next time,
Cheers.